Hi guys, and welcome to my next video. Well, this video is now, well, it's a bit over 2 weeks since I've had the birds in the aviary now, and they have settled in relatively nicely. I'm going to try and get a little bit better video of them here for you, but their colours might show up a little bit more in the light today. I've been pretty happy with their progress. They've settled in to the point now where they're pretty comfortable with me being in here, but still not 100% used to it, as you can see. But they're quite happy at the moment. They've just had some sprouted seed. It's quite a nice day today, so they're getting a bit of sun. And the males have started singing a little bit, which is quite nice. We're coming towards Christmas now. So yeah, they're sort of coming into breeding condition. Now this video, I'm going to throw in some videos now that I've recorded since I've got them, which is just basically them, a little bit of feeding and just them in the aviary in general, for you to have a bit of a look at them. So I hope you enjoy that. And then I'm going to do just a little bit of a summary of what I would consider the basics of keeping Gouldian finches. So what I'm using as far as food, the receptacles I'm using for feeding them, and yeah, sort of any basics which I think you'll need if you want to keep Gouldian finches. So that'll be things like you know, the nest boxes, nets, and stuff like that. So it's hopefully going to be a little bit shorter video, this one, but I hope you enjoy it. So yeah, I'm going to show you a little bit of footage of them now that I've managed to record of them feeding. They're still very picky feeders. All Gouldians seem to be that way, but these guys in particular, I've been trying a lot of my foods that some of my previous Gouldians have enjoyed, and these guys, yeah, still really sticking to their sprouted seed and their standard sort of seed mixes. But I am trying to change that and introducing a few new things to their diet, but it can take a little while. So I hope you enjoy the next part of the video, and we'll continue after that. Okay, so this is my general sort of feeding station, which consists of an oven tray to catch the discarded seed. As you can see, it keeps the aviary relatively clean. You're never going to keep it 100% clean, but I find it catches a lot of the discarded seed husks in the tray, and they're very easy to clean, and they're very cheap to buy. I think this is about $4. It's quite deep, which is good. And if I was to be also having quails in here, I'd probably change that out for a bit of a shallower dish. But as I've only got the Gouldians in here at the moment, this is quite enough. So yeah, basically have my my basic seed mix, which is here. Now I do make my own seed mix, so I'm going to put a link in the description below to the video which shows exactly what I put in my seed mix. So yeah, please check that out. At the moment, because they're molting, I've got a bit of a tonic mix here, and I make my own again. Specifically the Niger seed is really good when they're molting, so you know, you can easily put a little bit of that in there. Regular seed, or have it sort of a little bit separate like this. It's actually quite oily, so you don't want to feed too much. And I also have a sort of a SHELLGRIT mix as well. Now again, I make my own SHELLGRIT mix, so I'm going to put a link also to that in the description, and you'll see how I make my own SHELLGRIT, which is quite a mix of different things. And I put a bit of calcium cake in there today, just for a bit of extra. We've also got just a couple of pieces of millet, which they're not really eating as yet, but I think once they discover a taste for them, they'll start eating them a little bit more. They're probably the first Gouldians I've had that aren't eating these you know, very keenly, so I think they will get there. And last but not least, if I can move back here a little bit, is of course fresh water. Now I use one of these sort of casserole dishes. I quite like these larger size ones, as they hold a lot of water, and if for some reason I'm away fishing for the weekend or something, it's enough water for the weekend quite comfortably. They can get in there and have a bath if they want to, or of course they can just drink. And of course it's important to keep the water nice and fresh and topped up for them. I usually do that every day. So yeah, so that's essentially the basics that I would consider necessary to keep Gouldian finches as far as food and water goes. Now let's have a little bit of a closer look at some of the bowls that I use. Okay, so here's a selection of the kind of bowls that I use when I'm feeding the birds. As I said, with the water, I really like these sort of baking dishes, or I'm not exactly what you would call them, casserole dishes. They're very sturdy, very easy to clean. You can put them in a dishwasher, you can wash them by hand, you don't have to worry about them breaking because they're very solid. They hold a lot of water, and obviously you don't have to fill them right to the top if you don't want to. But I find they're a good sort of depth for Gouldian finches to be able to still get into, and a lot of other finches if they wish. I also use this size for parrots. The only downside when you've got larger parrots like rosellas, etc., when they hop in and have a bath, they will knock out a lot of water out of these. So just keep an eye on your water level. With finches, obviously, it's not too much of a drama. When I feed like my sprouted seed, I use these sort of smaller versions of the baking dishes. I think these are, I'm just trying to think actually where I got these. I believe they might be like puppy or kitten food dishes. And you can get those from just like pet stores. I like these smaller bowls for things like sprouted seed, etc. As it, you know, it's a smaller amount of food, and again, these are very easy to clean. All of these items I can wash in the dishwasher if I want to, or by hand. I use these small dishes that I get from like the $2 store or the Asian supermarkets. Now, people use these usually for like sauce dishes, or you know, variety of type of human foods. But I love these. They're so cheap, and if you drop one and break them or something, it's no drama. They hold just the right amount of sort of stuff for your, you know, tonic mixes or special seeds or egg and biscuit. And I really like these small ones, just something else that I use. These stainless steel dishes are something I've used for, I think as far back as I've been keeping birds. I use these for my seed. I use these smaller ones for the SHELLGRIT. But you can use these for everything. I use these also for my sort of salad mixes that I give to the birds. When I'm keeping other birds, I put fruit, etc. in these as well. I've got larger size ones. I've got every different size of these really, and you can get these from generally any pet stores, or you can buy them online fairly cheaply. But the good thing being stainless steel, you know, they last for a long time. They're easy to clean. I've had these ones that I'm using now, I've probably had for a good 20 years, and they're still in very good condition. I usually keep a few of these so that if I don't have time to wash something, I can easily just swap a new one around. So I probably swap over the bowls every 2 or 3 days anyway, when I'm putting in new water. Whenever I refill their seed, I change the seed bowl over just to keep things clean and hygienic. And then, yeah, I have a spare one in the wings waiting, and I can just swap them over. And then when these are being cleaned, the other ones are being used. So yeah, again, here's one of these sort of oven trays. I find these fantastic. They're really easy to clean. I have just swapped to these much deeper ones recently, just because I was keeping king quail in with the finches, so I wanted a bit shallower dish so the quails could get easier access to the seed and any young quails. But again, as I'm not having those at the moment, these deeper dishes catch a lot more seed, which is great, and they're so easy to clean and very cheap as well, which is great. Now, one other one I'm going to show you, one of these sort of poultry style feeders. Now, if I go away on holidays, for example, I like to fill these with water as well as the water dishes, and these are just an added backup. They actually sort of self-watering, where the water just keeps filling up as the birds drink it, and it generally stays pretty clean. The birds can just sort of get access to the bottom there, but these are really great for your little hospital cages or anything where you're not going to be using a bowl. At some stage I might show you my holding cage or hospital cage setup, and I use these for their water, and they hold a lot of water as well. This one's a well, I'm not sure if there's a 1.3 litre. Yeah, I think 1.3 litre, or close to 2 litres, which is really good. Now, lastly, I'm going to show you one more bowl, and that's it for the feeding accessories. Okay, so the last one I have here are these small, I guess they're ceramic feeding dishes. Now, these are actually from the local pet store, and they're used for dog food, I believe. They're probably in the dog feeding area. But the thing I love about these bowls is they hold exactly 1 litre of water. Now, when I'm worming my birds or feeding any of the liquid supplements I give them, you'll usually find on those bottles it has a certain amount per 1 litre of water. And the great thing about these is they hold 1 litre of water. So when it says to add 1 ml of that liquid to 1 litre, or 5 mils to 1 litre, this is going to be 1 litre of water. So I use these smaller dog feeding dishes, if you want to call them that. I specifically get the 1 litre ones, and I use these when I'm worming my birds or feeding liquid supplements. I've started using these. I've actually got larger ones as well, and some smaller ones, but I've been using these 1 litre ones now for probably the last 20 years or so, and I'm completely in love with using these, just because they make giving your birds wormer or supplements so much easier. There's no wastage, when I use a 1 litre jug, and when I do worm them, I will show you that in one of my videos. I'll make a 1 litre jug, and I know that's going to fill this up exactly. So really recommend these kind of dishes here. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a look at the variety of dishes. None of them are super expensive. Probably the baking dishes, casserole dishes, are a little bit more expensive. All of them you can find at pet shops or online. And these kind of oven ones you can just find at the supermarket or the cheap sort of $2 sort of stores. Yeah, so this is what I use for my basic feeding and watering. Okay, now this is how I store my seed, my shell grits or grit mixes, as well as things like cuttlefish and millet. So I use these plastic drums. Now they're out in the garage. Now sorry about the mess at the moment. My garage is always a work in progress. But yeah, this is what I use to store my seed. So yeah, so here is my seed mix. I have a couple of just containers here that I use for pouring it in. Now, like I said, in the description below you'll find a video on how I mix up this seed. It's a mix that I find really good for Gouldians. There's nothing wrong with your basic mixes, but yeah, I really like to mix my own and add in a few extra seeds that definitely aren't a standard seed, you would say. But I really like these plastic drums. They're very easy to wash out and clean. I get these from like a hardware store. Now generally it keeps the food, it keeps the seed here very dry and safe and out of the weather, which is what you want. And yeah, as you can see, I've got quite a few of these drums that I use. So this one has all my cuttlefish. I have a bit of a large supply of cuttlefish. I'm a bit of a cuttlefish obsessive. Now of course cuttlefish is something generally most birds really love. It's a good source of calcium. Always keep some of this in your aviary. You can find this and collect it yourself down at the beach, or of course you can buy it from pet supply places. I've got a guy who collects it. He's a retired guy and collects it to make a bit of extra cash, so I buy yeah, whole bags of that off him, and my birds always have a steady supply of it. Now in here is my grit, all my stuff that I make my own grit mix with. The bells, the different cakes. I've got eggshell here. That's my mix at the moment, which I've actually got to make a little bit more of soon. Nearly out. I've got things like charcoal, all different types of grit as well. And yeah, please check out the description and you'll see I've made a whole video on what I use for my grit mix and how I mix it up. So yeah, this drum is all about grit mix. Okay, and last but not least is my millet drum. So this has yeah, a couple of different types of my millets that I use. As I stated a bit earlier, these Gouldians haven't really grown up on it, so they're not quite into it yet. But generally your birds will love this stuff. It's not something I give to them 24/7, but especially when they have young ones I give it to them. And I give it to them as a bit of a treat on weekends when it's out of the breeding season, or possibly, you know, one or two of these sprays kind of thing a week is fine. But yeah, I don't give it to them every day, but when they're breeding it's usually a really really good source of food for them and they really love it. So yeah, that's something else that I really love to feed them. Now another basic item you're going to need is a net. Now unless you have the birds in a very small sort of pet cage or an indoor cage or something like that, you're going to need a net if you have an aviary. So this is just a very simple one. I do have a few different types of nets, but I quite like this one as it has the see-through net itself, so you can sort of see the birds in there. Some of them you can't see through, which can make it a little bit difficult when you're getting a bird out of the net. This one's padded all around the ring, which is really good, so you don't the birds don't get injured when you're catching them. There is a little bit of an art form to catching birds with a net, so yeah, just be very careful when you're doing that. And of course, if you're a youngster, maybe get an adult to do that. This one just has a wood handle, so this one was reasonably cheap, but of course you can spend a lot of money on really nice nets, and maybe in the future I'll show you one of my better ones, but at the moment I don't really have access to one of those at the moment. They're sort of blocked away as I'm reconfiguring the shed a little bit. But yeah, so net is a necessity. And I guess last but not least, if you're going to really start breeding birds, you need a nest box. Now this is your typical Gouldian sort of setup. I put a little bracket on the back for hooks that I've put inside my aviary, so they're specifically designed to hold my nest boxes with this little bracket that I buy from the hardware store. I've got a couple little bits of wood to sort of keep the box straight up. Now when I put these in the aviary in the future, that's going to be in another video, but I just thought I'd give you a quick look at the nest box itself. The lid, I put a little bit of wood on top just to stop the chance of birds falling down the back and getting stuck, which can happen. But yeah, this is generally what you're going to need, some kind of a nest box. Now this is your typical Gouldian style, but Gouldians do readily accept quite a few, but they do like nest boxes like this. They're sort of smaller, sort of wooden ones with a bit of an entrance hole and the breeding chamber inside, but I'll go more into detail of these in the future. And of course, if you hadn't really thought about it, you're going to need an aviary. Now this is an aviary I've built myself, and it's quite a nice day today, so it's looking quite nice. The Gouldians are really happy in here. Now, as you can see, it's part suspended and part conventional. So they've got this suspended area at the front here where they can come out, get sun and a bit of rain if they like, and a bit of fresh air. And then they've got the conventional area where I breed the birds themselves, and they sort of generally roost back there. I will put a link in the description below to my building of this aviary. There's a couple of I think it might be 1, 2 or 3 videos actually, but I did go through the whole process of making this, all the way from preparing the area and laying some concrete, and then building the whole aviary itself. Now it's quite a in-depth video, but yeah, if you're looking at making your own aviary, I think it might be helpful to you. But yeah, that's the last part of this video really. So yeah, I'm really happy with the birds. They're looking great. They're finishing their molts. They seem to be settling in quite well. The only thing I'm having trouble with is getting them to try some new foods and be a bit adventurous with their eating. But they will get there. All birds are pretty stubborn when it comes to that kind of thing. But I will persist, and hopefully I'll get them eating some other foods, and we'll get some videos of that in the future for you to have a look at. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this second episode. Now this series obviously is going right from the beginning when I've purchased these birds all the way up to breeding them and seeing what their young ones are going to be like, and I'm going to take you through the whole process. So yeah, so the next video I'm going to go through a few of the extra things that you're going to be using if you really want to be successful with Gouldians. This video is obviously the sort of covering the basics, but I'm going to show you a few of the extra things that I use to bring the birds into breeding condition or keep them healthy, a few of the supplements, etc. So I hope you'll catch that in the next video. So thanks for watching this one, and bye for now.